And it's interesting that we're talking about money because, I'm pregnant and, I don't know a lot about what that entails. It feels like it's going to need money. And I've historically not made great financial decisions, unfortunately. One of the things that happened when I first moved to Los Angeles, so I'm from Chicago and I lived in Boston, and I did not understand how serious the need for a car was here, which I guess is sort of like in line with transit that people were talking about earlier. And so I moved here, and within like 2 days I was like, oh no, like I'm gonna need a car, like I'm gonna need one. But I'd never bought a car before because I'd never really needed a car. I've always taken the subway or walked or done whatever. And so, to be fair, when I was growing up, my parents gave me several cars, and I have a drinking problem, and I just crashed each and every one of them, just destroyed them all. And then, my parents were enablers, so I would wake up the next morning and there'd just be a new car there, and I just thought that's how cars worked. Turns out not so much. So I didn't have like a lot of background into like what you do when you need to buy a car. It seems like now I know you go to a dealership and someone helps you. But I didn't know. This was when I first moved here 6 long years ago. And, I wasn't pregnant then. It was a different world. And so my friend was like, I know this car rental place. And if you go there, they'll just sell you a car. And I was like, okay, I'll just go there. And it turns out it's not how you buy a car, as it turns out. But that's what I did. And I had whatever, I think I had like $1,000 or something allocated for this transaction. And I went there and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to buy a car. And it's a rental car company, so they're of course horrified. They're like, what are you talking about? It's not a thing we do. I don't know what you mean. And I was like, my friend said I could just buy one here. And they were like, again, I don't, it's not, I think there's maybe the manager, I think, sells them sometimes. You might be able to do that. And I'm like, great, I'll just take the car then. And eventually I drove off the lot with a 2001 Daewoo. That was the car that I bought. And I asked I'm like, do you take debit? Because that's all I had. I had my $1,000 on my debit card. I'm like, do you take debit? And the woman was completely horrified. And then I drove my 2001 Daewoo away. So these are the sorts of like financial decisions that I'm making. I clearly am not, it's not what you do. That car was awesome. I drove it for a long time. So I'm in LA. I have my car. I have my 2001 Daewoo. And I'm living alone. I'm single, sad, sober. At this point, I managed to clean it up. Also chain smoking, which I can't, not allowed to do when you're pregnant. Not cool. And so I fall down into like the rabbit hole of Netflix. I don't know if this has happened to you, because I don't know what I'm doing on Netflix. I'm just on there and I start just randomly watching things. And I find myself accidentally watching a documentary entitled Crude. Has anybody seen this documentary? Good, don't watch it. It's legitimately the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So I accidentally start watching this documentary, and it's terrifying. It's like the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm emotionally unstable, which I'm sure you've been able to figure out in like the 30 seconds I've been up here. And so I'm watching this documentary, and they're like, hey, are you familiar with the Amazon? Like, it's a place. Apparently there's a place called the Amazon. It's a terrifying jungle. And they're like, guess what? Texaco Chevron came here and spilled literally cajillions of barrels of oil all over everyone here in the city of Ecuador. I don't know if it's a city. I'm not sure. Whatever. The point is, there's a place called Ecuador, and the fine people of Texaco Chevron have like destroyed it, right? So I'm gripped. I'm already like interested for unknown reasons. And the documentary is going on, and it's like playing on all of your, at least for me, I don't know why. I'm feeling very bad about this. I'm like, these people don't know what, they're living in trees apparently, in like the jungle, and there's all this oil, and they don't know where, and so it's like they don't know, and so it's like if you're drinking and bathing in oil water, it turns out you get like ferocious cancer. So like everyone doesn't know, but they have like boils all over their arms. And they don't know why. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's Texaco Chevron, because I'm watching. This is fucking terrible. I'll never use oil again, ever. This is awful. This whole country of Ecuador is under siege. I don't know, I think it's a country. It feels like it's a country. It's a city, it doesn't, whatever it is, it's a place, and we should go there and help these people. That was the whole point, It's like these people are dying, and then they're just telling you these stories, and so they're like, impoverished and indigenous, and so they're telling their stories. They're like, yeah, like, I don't know what happened. Like, I woke up and my son was covered in boils. So I like put him in like a knapsack and took a bus like 47 hours to like get treatment, which who's to say what treatment they were given? Like, I'm sure they get on like this rickety bus and then they're given like a Tylenol and they're like, oh, that's chemotherapy. Like, I just don't feel that they're getting the treatment really that they deserve, and they don't know it, and so I'm upset, basically. And so, do you guys know Sting's wife? Her name's Trudy Styler. Do you know who this person is? I didn't either. But she's like an aggressive activist. Like, this is her thing. So all of a sudden, she's like in the documentary. And she's like sitting there, and this is what it felt like. It felt like she was like, Alison, how could you just sit there and let this happen to the people in the province of Ecuador? Like, how could you just do this? And so they're telling all these stories, and so now, there's like this celebrity involved, and I'm like, we all need to be taking action. And the next, like, I think it was like so my birthday, we were talking about summer birthdays. My birthday's in August, and so the next month, I was supposed to be going to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with my friend Rob Schaeffer. He had asked me many times, do I want to go to Puerto Vallarta? I was like, yeah, I cannot wait. Let's do this. But I'm a procrastinator because I never have the money, right? So I haven't booked the ticket yet, right? So I'm sitting in my apartment. Mexico's on the horizon. Everyone in Ecuador is dying. Trudy Styler is like, but don't worry. There's something you can do. I was like, oh my God, tell me. Like, I'm sitting in my, like, I lived in a studio, but I live by myself. I'm feeling like very privileged. I'm like, oh my God, look, not everybody can have a 2001 Daewoo. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are taking the bus, or they're, I don't know, they live in somewhere different. Not even, they're splitting a studio. They have a roommate in their studio. I don't know. So I'm like, how could you just sit there while these people are literally dying of, oil cancer? So I get on the internet, because they give you the website. It's like infomercials, right? I don't, and I send a $500 water barrel to the people in the town of Ecuador. I sent them a $500 water barrel. No, I don't think you understand. It's appropriate to send $500 barrels of water places if you, in fact, have $500. If you don't, and you're just borrowing the money from American Express, that's not what you'd call like a sound financial decision. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the type of mother, I don't think, that I should be. Like, if my child wants a toy, am I gonna not have food for us anymore because she wanted something? Yeah, probably that's what's gonna happen. So I do this, and of course I have like immediate buyer's remorse. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't even know what or where Ecuador is. For all you know, it doesn't even exist. Like, this could potentially not even really be a place. And so my strategy, because now, of course, it's just like every other time where it's like, I take some horrible action in my life, and then I decide, like, I'm going to be responsible. I'm like, I sleep with someone, and then I'm like, we should date. Like that thing. Like, I bring it back a step. It's just like I go pretty far out there and then try to reverse it, but it's too late. And so I send the water barrel, and then I'm like, Alison, what are you doing with your life? You have to make better choices. So I call Rob Schaeffer, and I'm like, hey, I was just about to book my ticket to Mexico, but I accidentally instead sent a water barrel to the people of Ecuador. Did you know what Texaco Chevron has done there? It's outlandish, like. And he was not, he wasn't happy. Like, you'd think that you'd be like, oh my God, Alison, that's so nice. Like, you've saved all these people. Like, I sort of envision that, like, there's this place in Ecuador that has, like, a water barrel with, like, my headshot on it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm, like, some, magical, like, queen here, and I've, like, saved all the people there with my barrel of water. I have to say, too, it's not like there was water in the barrel. I think the idea is you just send the barrel. I don't know why it was so expensive, and then, like, rain goes into it and filters, and it becomes, oil-free water. I don't know. I don't pretend to understand how water barrels work. So ultimately, I did not go to Mexico for my birthday, and Rob Schaeffer he's still not happy about it. Like, there was never a moment where he was like, I'm so glad those people have water. He's just, like, pretty upset that, I ruined my birthday and just sort of his life. So, I guess my ending here is I want you to be careful if you're on Netflix. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want you to be supervised and to make smart choices. Thank you.
Alison Royer, ladies and gentlemen.